Portland, Oregon is where we will begin our journey of the Union Pacific's Portland Subdivision. In the heart of the city stands the steel bridge that spans the Willamette River, carrying domestic traffic on its top deck and rail traffic on its lower deck. This vital structure allows for rail traffic to reach the Portland Union Station and Lake Yard beyond. On the east end of the bridge, we find the start of the Portland Sub at East Portland Junction, which is under the intersecting flyovers where Interstate 84 joins the I-5. Here, the Brooklyn Sub ends at milepost 770 and milepost 0 for the Portland Sub. From here, the Portland Sub splits into two lines. The Kenton line heads north past Steel Bridge to Albina Yard and onwards to Vancouver, Washington, or east to Troutdale, Oregon. The Graham line heads east from this junction, following the route of Interstate 84, where it meets the Kenton line in Troutdale. Looking down at the junction, we can see the Graham line coming in from the left. Behind the highway overpass is the transition between the Portland and Brooklyn subs. Looking behind, we can see the steel bridge as Amtrak's number 11 passes through, having just departed Union Station as it continues south. Leading is one of Amtrak's heritage units, number 161, wearing the iconic Phase 1 scheme. Following Amtrak 11, UP 7864 now crosses the steel bridge. This intermodal is nearing the end of its journey from Tacoma, Washington to Union Pacific's Brooklyn Yard just a couple miles south of here. Many of these containers will continue south later in the day on the Brooklyn to Los Angeles I train. Catch some local flavor in the form of the Portland and Western 663 service as it slowly weaves through the junction on its way to interchange its train of predominantly empty hoppers to the BNSF at their Vancouver yard. Graham Line makes a steep winding climb out of Portland along with Interstate 84. The view from 60th Avenue illustrates the close space these two traffic modes share, separated by one of Portland's Tri-Met light rail lines. Union Pacific's unit honoring veterans, number 1943, leads a hot Z train out of Portland bound for Chicago. The Kenton line has a minimal grade compared to the Graham line, following the Columbia River and being paralleled by both Columbia Boulevard and Lombard Street. We catch Union Pacific's Missouri Pacific Heritage Unit, number 1982, as it heads up the Kenton line past the viewing platform at Cully Park. The gateway to the gorge, Troutdale, Oregon lies next to the Sandy River and is the last town before entering the Columbia River Gorge. Troutdale today still retains much of its historic scene, making it popular with tourists. On the east side of town, there is a small railroad park with a preserved caboose and Troutdale's original depot. On the other side of the tracks, the Union Pacific has a more modern affair that it uses for their maintenance of way crews. It is here in Troutdale that both the Graham and Kenton lines join. Looking west, we see the Graham line headed to the left and the Kenton line headed to the right. The train we see in the hole is tied down, awaiting a crew. An eastbound manifest passes by the parked train, led by UP 8896. signal now shows an indication for a westbound to take the Kenton line. We soon see UP 2543 pull through the Sandy River Trestle. Atop Graham Road, we view another eastbound coming up the Kenton line, a long, empty potash train led by UP 8126 with 6 Canadian Pacific units in tow. Directly east of Troutdale, the line is carried over the Sandy River on a 3-span trestle. UP 5771 races across the bridge with a Z train bound for Brooklyn Yard. Kansas City Southern and Union Pacific locomotive help keep the train moving as they shove on the rear of the train. Milepost 18 is the location of Sandy Siding and the beginning of our run through the Columbia River Gorge. From here, the line will share the southern bank of the Columbia River with Interstate 84 all the way through the entirety of the gorge. With the sound of highway traffic in the background, we catch a meet at Sandy between 2 opposing Z trains. The westbound arrives first as Union Pacific 8914 coast into Sandy. the westbound clears the control point, the eastbound Z, led by 1943, is revealed and soon gets the high green to continue its eastward progress. Near milepost 21, we spot a short curved tunnel built in 1922 when the line saw many major realignments. UP 2612 races through as another Z train heads east. The Columbia River Gorge is full of many sights and wonders, both natural and man-made. Sitting atop Crown Point between Sandy and Bridal Veil sidings stands Vista House. 733 feet above the Columbia River, this iconic observation building commands clear views up and down the gorge. This is on the route of what was known as the Columbia River Highway, today's Highway 30, the predecessor to Interstate 84 down below, and was a wonder of engineering when first completed. Sections still remain in use, with other parts having been repurposed as bike trails. We will see more of Highway 30 as we continue eastward. At Bridal Veil Falls, the rock formation gives us a good view of the main line below. On the Washington side of the river, we see Highway 30's counterpart, Highway number 14, as it clings to the cliff's edge. In the background, we can make out Vista House as UP 8126 rolls past the Pillars of Hercules seen on the left of the line, with its long train of empty hoppers headed back to Canada. The long train rolls past Bridal Veil siding behind us, passing under the Bridal Veil Road off-ramp. A westbound manifest appears a while later, powered by a GE EMD combo. As it rolls by below, we get a glimpse of what is inside the numerous gondolas on the head end, loads of metal ingots. Waterfalls abound in this area of the Columbia River Gorge. The steep sides of the gorge are littered with valleys along the ridgeline that feed water into the Columbia River. Our next stop is without doubt the most well-known of these falls, Multnomah Falls. Falling a total of 620 feet over two falls, Multnomah Falls is the highest waterfall in Oregon, and contentiously, one of the tallest year-round falls in the United States. The site is a popular tourist stop along Interstate 84, and the Union Pacific's main passes right in front of the falls. The sound of the falls and highway traffic fill the air as we view the tranquil scene of Multnomah Creek and its residents. Sightseers cross under the main line on a warm summer day as UP 5309 brings a different kind of shock and awe to this scenic location. A cooler day, and on the other side of the bridge, a timbered plaque gives us a reference as to our location on the UP system. The drone of traffic and water is broken once more as UP 5333 races through with a hot Z for Chicago. Dodson is the next sighting east of Bridal Veil, where we can see a train tied down. Behind us are two notable landmarks. This basalt formation is Oneida Bluff, and was a formidable obstacle to building of the Columbia River Highway. The railroad had taken the only available land around the bluff, resulting in the building of a 125-foot tunnel through the base of the formation in 1914. In 1948, the tunnel would be bypassed and filled in until it would be cleared once more to serve walkers to the neighboring Oneida Falls in 2009. Looking back to the main line, UP 7659 passes the tied-down train with a combined ballast and manifest train bound for Portland. A few minutes after the westbound clear, the dispatcher has lights up for an eastbound through Dodson. The power on the tied-down train idles away as they bask in the summer sun. The faded paint a testament to the thousands of hours hauling freight across the Union Pacific's vast system. Soon the eastbound appears around the curve, a manifest led by UP 2657. PTI driver arrives with a new crew for the westbound Z. Meanwhile, UP 7792 heads east through Dodson in charge of a loaded trash train on its way to Arlington further up the gorge. With a fresh crew on board, the dispatcher lights up the Z train, and the engineer wakes up the sleeping beast. We move to the east end of Dodson, where the lights are showing occupancy, as a UP 3822 appears with the westbound manifest. A surprise on the rear of the train in the form of new commuter cars destined for the Altamont Commuter Express in Central California. The east control point now favors an eastbound train that had been waiting in the siding. The train slowly emerges from behind the vegetation as the engineer gets his train underway. As they get closer, we see a splash of orange and an otherwise yellow consist. East of Dodson, we find the next notable landmark in the form of the Tanner Creek Viaduct. When the neighboring Bonneville Dam was being constructed, the Union Pacific was required to reroute its line to higher ground between here and the town of Cascade Locks. This would result in the construction of this unique structure in 1935 that would be more at home to the industrial valleys of Pennsylvania. East of Bonneville Dam, the line passes between the east and west roadways of Interstate 84 as all three cross over Eagle Creek. With the eastbound 84 traffic in the background, UP 1943 leads its Z train through the dual truss spans. Our next location along the Portland Sub is the town of Cascade Locks. This town started life when the U.S. federal government approved the plan to build a set of locks here to allow navigation past the Cascade Rapids in 1875. The locks would open in 1896 and later submerged in 1938 with the opening of the Bonneville Dam. Today, paddle steamers still carry patrons along the Columbia River, stopping at towns along the way like Cascade Locks. However, the town is marked by a more notable landmark that is hard to miss. This would be the Bridge of the Gods. When originally built in 1926, it would measure 1,127 feet in length. Later, it would be raised 44 feet as a result of the rising water level from the building of the Bonneville Dam in 1938, resulting in its new length of 1,858 feet. Nearly 100 years old, this breathtaking structure provides a valuable river crossing between Oregon and Washington, towering high above the Columbia River, as well as both the Union Pacific and BNSF main lines. The bridge derives its title from the Native American name for the landmass on the Washington side of the river, which formed when an enormous landslide occurred from the peaks of the Table Mountain and Greenleaf Peak, covering an area of 5.5 square miles. Geologists are split on a date for the event, with some going as far back as 900 years, but what is known is that there would have been a natural dam formed near here, roughly 200 feet high, creating a natural bridge over the Columbia River. Returning to the Union Pacific, and on the east end of Cascade Locks, UP 2669 leaves the small town behind with 5 units in tow, pulling an intermodal east. Around the river bend from Cascade Locks brings us to our last location of Wyeth. With the sunlight fading, an empty trash train holds the siding here, as we see UP 1943 appear one last time with its long string of containers through Wyeth. A pair of DPUs bring up the rear of the westbound. As the sound of applied effort fades into the evening, our journey along the Columbia River comes to an end for today. We hope that you've enjoyed our footage of the Union Pacific's Portland subdivision. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more content. From all of us at Sidetracked, thank you.